everyone for joining today's NeedyMeds special topic webinar, RX Outreach, Making Medications Affordable. My name is Carla. I'm the Education Coordinator here at NeedyMeds. And before we get today's presentation started, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping tips. You can type any questions you may have into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel, but keep in mind we will reserve answering questions until the end of the webinar. If we do not have time to answer all of the questions, please know we will follow up with you personally via email after the webinar within about a day at the most. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and as soon as we can, we'll convert it into a video and post it on the NeedyMeds YouTube channel. And of course, if, as I mentioned earlier, if you had difficulty downloading the PowerPoint presentation that was attached to the registration link, let me know and I'd be happy to email you a copy. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. For those of you that are not familiar with NeedyMeds, we are a national nonprofit, and as you can see on your screen, our mission statement is that we are dedicated to both educating and empowering those seeking affordable health care. And we really define the education portion of our mission in two ways. Certainly by letting people know about NeedyMeds and the resources we have to offer, but also by letting them know other ways to save on healthcare expenses, which is why we are so pleased to have our guest panelists here with us today. And while I introduce Pete Wyatt from RX Outreach, I'm going to go ahead and just put a snapshot of the NeedyMeds homepage up there, just so you can familiarize yourself with what our website looks like and check out some of, just a snapshot of some of the other upcoming webinars later in the month. So let's get back to introducing today's guest. As I said, Pete Wyatt comes from us from RX Outreach, and he heads up the marketing team. His team's primary goal is to share the RX Outreach story with patients and providers and helping to ensure that those in need of affordable medication have access. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and transfer both the mic and the screen to our presenter today. So bear with us. You may hear a little bit of silence in the meantime. And Pete, you should be able to grab that screen now. Thanks everybody for your patience, and enjoy this afternoon's presentation. Thanks, Pete.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Carla. I want to place some context on this presentation so that everybody kind of shares the same page. But the first thing is, what you're going to hear, if you don't already know about RX Outreach, what you're going to hear is about an extremely unique pharmacy. Unique in the sense that we're the only one in the country that does what we do. Unique in the standpoint that we are built to serve low-income folks who come to us on their own or through advocates. The other thing is, we assume in this presentation that everybody on this call understands the plight of those people looking for affordable medication. So we don't get into detail about how many people, what the need is, and what the impact is. We assume you already know that. And finally, this is a very, very high-level, general conversation that we're going to have. And it's done that way on purpose because each of you has a different set of protocols that you follow to help people or to find affordable medications. So we put it in a general sense so that you can ask questions, because those questions allow us to address your situation specifically. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what is RX Outreach, then when to consider using RX Outreach. That's a very specific point there. Why RX Outreach, and then how to use RX Outreach. And I hope that you come away from this seeing that we can be of assistance to you, and that we're complicated in the sense that we're easy. We're very simple. We build this to be as free of paper as possible, as free as questions as possible, to be able to serve those in need as fast as possible. So what is RX Outreach? First and foremost, we are the nation's largest nonprofit mail-order pharmacy, managed by pharmacists whose mission it is to serve those in need. That's what we do, that's what we are. We are licensed to serve in all 50 states, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And since Guam is in the news, we also serve the military base in Guam. We have more than 360 medications on hand, a combination of more than 800 different strengths of those medications. Last year we shipped more than 350,000 prescriptions in the U.S. territories, and 9,500 of those prescriptions were referred to us or sent to us through NeedyMeds referrals or their direct constituents. The most important thing of what we are is what we're not. We are not a discount card, so there's nothing to keep up with. We don't require, accept, or even consider coupons. That's not what we do. So as you look at your sources, as you consider things, just remember there is a great distinction between those people that provide coupons and discount cards and a pharmacy like us who actually provides you the medication at affordable rates. So when do you consider RX Outreach? First and foremost, I will say something that's not on the screen, and that is we cannot be, nor do we expect to be, your exclusive pharmacy. That's not how we're built. That's not what we do. We cherish local pharmacy relationships. Our purpose is to help people find affordable medications. If that is a free source, great. If that is a local source, fantastic. Our purpose, our entire purpose and business model is so that when you exhaust all of your free options and you actually need an affordable medication, we're here for you. When the patient doesn't qualify for assistance, there are lots of assistance programs out there, and there are lots of patients who, for various reasons, they don't qualify. We don't care if a patient is insured, Medicaid, Medicare, PAPs. We don't care. If you as a provider or them as a patient has a prescription and has a need for that medication, we want to help. We also serve a large population of seniors and immigrants that do not have documentation. We don't require Social Security numbers unless it is a controlled substance. We don't ask for income tax. We don't ask for checkbooks. It's a self-attestation. Part of what we believe is, given the population that we serve, life is already hard. We also believe that if you are a provider, if you are an advocate, you have vetted these folks and you have assessed their need. So we do not second guess that. We do not judge that. If that person is directed by you to have a prescription and we have it and we can fill it, we certainly will. We're also, as I said before, we cherish existing pharmacy relationships. We work with a lot of clinics that have an in-house dispensary. We work with several hospitals that have a pharmacy. We work with several clinics and providers that went to high school with the pharmacist on the corner and they've been doing business together for 15 years. We think that's fantastic. However, when you add scope and scale to that, when you have a small pharmacy or space for that, sometimes you, one, end up writing to what you have versus to what the patient needs. And second, in a lot of the pharmacy relationships, there is a belief that you are receiving pricing that is good, $5 over their cost, $2 over their cost, all of those things. And all of those things are great and fantastic. So in those situations, log on to our site, see if we carry the drug, and just check our prices. What you find in a lot of local pharmacies is that they don't buy in quantities as we do. And if your objective goes beyond proximity and is about cost, we can be of assistance. And finally, when the patient's compliance is threatened by mobility, many of those people we served are seniors who are housebound, or rural populations, or populations that don't have cars and can't get to the clinics. So if mobility is an issue, and again, you can get beyond the local relationships, we can help those people by actually getting the medications to them or to you, which allows you to have the compliance conversations at refill time or when writing a new script. If you are a patient, when to consider, or a caregiver, if for any reason, you are spending your money, meaning if you are spending your money on a copay, if you're spending your money on the $4 program at the local grocery store, if you are spending any of your money, it would behoove you to check our pricing, because our pricing for a lot of folks, particularly seniors, for the drug that they are looking for, is less than their copay. And on many occasions, when they go and they pay the copay at a discounted rate, they're paying for 30 days. We quite often have that medication for 90 days for less than their copay. So again, if the patient or the clinic is spending any of their money, we would like to be of assistance. When you don't as a patient, if you don't qualify for assistance, very much like we just went over, or if you don't have any documentation, if you have more than one medication, this is very important. We have a lot of patients, too many to name, that they go to their provider and the provider tells them that they can pick up their specific medication or a specific medication for the $4 program, the $7 program, the $10 program, which is absolutely fantastic. We encourage it. We actually, when we're talking to patients, we actually ask them if they've checked their local grocers. The problem with that is if you have more than one medication that is not on their program list, we have a lot of patients who will leave their medication because they have one for $4 that they can afford, but their second med is not on that list, and it's $200 or it's $180, or in one case it was $412 or $412. So if you have more than one medication and that second medication is not on the list, it may be better if you bought both meds or all 7 meds in some cases from us. We get that to your house, we monitor your refills, and we actually, our prices don't waver until the contract expires. Again, if you are a patient and you are threatened by mobility, we can help you. One of the other things that I did not speak to, that we'll get to in a little bit, is that our medications are on hand, and we buy 87% of our meds, almost 90%. And that is our business model, because while we advocate for free, we understand that free runs out. We also understand the level of patient that we serve. If your medication runs out from your provider and it was free, going without your meds can spiral your life in a lot of different ways that go beyond health. So we have all of the medications on hand because we buy them via contract, and they are ready to be dispensed. So why are RX Outreach? There's a few things on here, but the most important things are we are transparent. As a nonprofit who serves low-income people and the providers of those low-income people, we want to make sure that everything they buy, they can call someone and ask. Our pharmacists man the phone lines. We have a call center with actual real people in it. But when you go to our website or when you look at any of our documentation, the price you see is the price you pay. So if there's a medication there that's $20 for 90 days, that's $20 for 90 days delivered to your house. We do not charge additional or hidden fees. There's no enrollment fees, there's no membership fees, there's no shipping fees. It's just the price you pay for your medication, and that includes shipping to your house. The other part is we serve the uninsured, the underinsured, insured, as long as that household or that individual income is below 300% FPL. For the most part, most of the people we serve are under 180%. However, there are a lot of families, particularly now, that are falling out of insurance, that are close to the 300% mark and are in need of affordable medication, so we make our services available. The other part to what I just mentioned, we are a sustainable source. So if you're buying it here and we're shipping it to you, the chances of us running out are pretty slim. So we're a sustainable source, so that helps with sourcing, combining sourcing, and those kind of things. And the other thing is we're committed to serving the NeedyMeds constituency. We've been with NeedyMeds for a long time, been a supporter of them. We appreciate what they do. We think they are a key to our existence, and anybody that they reach is a friend of ours. So how do you use us? As we speak today, and I emphasize that because we're going to be changing in about 60 days, but every patient must be enrolled. The enrollment is very easy. We say the clinic can initiate it or the provider can initiate it. The patient can initiate it on their own. They can go online, they can call, and they can mail in the application. I recommend, much to the chagrin of our operations folks, is just call. You just pick up the phone, call the 800 number, because registration is a lot easier than a lot of the other registrations. You know, you're not filling out paperwork with shoe size and number of kids and all those kind of things. This is simply your name, your address in the event that the medication is shipping to you, or the address where the medicine is going, your household income. We don't maintain that household income information with your record. That is only a question that says you qualify for our program and we want to continue to serve you. Or if you don't continue our program, we have what's called an appeal process that we will walk individuals through, because we want to make sure everybody gets the service they need. Or if you don't qualify for either one of those, we want to refer you to places where you can get assistance. So those three things are the most important thing. And then we need the prescription. That's enrollment. We're going to be changing that pretty soon to get away from enrollment. And we're going to move that to, if you need the medication, you order the medication, and we'll enroll you when you order. So upon payment for that prescription, you will receive, or or the patient will receive that medication. I say 4 to 6 days. Operations says 5 to 7 days. That varies based on the part of the country you're in. We can establish an account right away and even ship in the same day. The problem that we have with shipping, when people ask how long it takes to get medication, is we can turn that around very fast. But the issue is sometimes it takes a patient or a clinic a long time to send payment. We understand that it takes, for patients, it takes effort and time to get someplace to get a money order and mail it. That is an act of faith in many cases. We understand that the debit card they used last week is not the debit card that has any space on it this week, and that they need to take a couple of weeks before they get paid. We understand that the credit card that they used last time may be maxed out. So we accommodate all of those kind of things, and we hold that file open until the provider says cancel it, or the patient says cancel it, or payment is received. After payment is received and after the medication is shipped, and that medication is shipped to the address of choice. If the provider wants it to come to the clinic, great. If the patient wants it to come to their home or their sister's home or their child's home, great, we will do that. after that occurs and the refill process takes place, we do not force feed refills. We will send out a notice and we will attempt to contact the patient or the provider twice. We understand that things happen. We will not, if there is a credit card on file, if there's a debit card on file, if there's a form of payment on file, we will not auto charge that. We will make sure that the patient still wants it, the clinic still thinks the patient needs it before we ship it. So with that, that's the overview. And now I'll take the questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pete, for taking the time to explain and give a pretty thorough overview of RX outreach. And as you said, we're great partners. Sometimes people ask us, as you know, we got this question during our last live webinar, Pete, was what exactly is the relationship between NeedyMeds and RX outreach? And it's really just what you're listening to today. Our missions align. Our goal is to get people access to the healthcare needs and medications they so desperately need. And since we serve similar populations, we simply share our resources. So it's as simple as that. We do have a couple of questions coming in, and I'm going to go ahead and remind everybody to go ahead and type any questions you may have into the question section of your GoToWebinar control panel. And if we don't get a chance to have Pete answer them today, of course, he or one of his staff members, again, will follow up with you via email within about a day. And Pete, if you want to go ahead and pass the screen back to me, that would be great. And in the meantime, let's get to one of the questions that we've gotten actually before, and it's coming up again. And I know here at NeedyMeds we get this quite a bit, which is how much does RX outreach cost?
Great question. I'm gonna take that in two ways. One, how much does it cost for a provider to join our network? It costs the provider absolutely nothing. We don't charge a provider access. We are a tool that we want the provider to use. If there is a question about payment or membership, we don't even address it. We don't have a minimum and we don't have a maximum. Because we are a nonprofit and because we are focused on the patient, if a provider has one patient out of all those that they serve that would fall into the medication gap or be forced to go to refill, we want to be there for that person. So there is no commitment in the general sense. We do have preferred provider options that are also of no cost. That include things like invoicing and reporting and things like that on the patients that you send us. There is an agreement that we ask you to sign for that level of service, but the agreement is not about commitment. The agreement says if you are ordering a prescription in these particular kinds, payment will be secured and that we are indemnified. So there's no cost to the clinic. So if you are a patient, there's no cost to you, only the cost of medication. So there is no usage fee. There's only the price of the medication.
Thank you for clarifying that, and we do our best to convey that as well, because as Pete had mentioned earlier, we refer quite a bit of people to RX outreach, and we do let them know that, of course, we're forwarding them along to it almost sounds, I think you use this term, Pete, like almost like an oxymoron, a nonprofit pharmacy.
Yes.
But we do our best to convey to the NeedyMeds users that when we forward you along, there is not a cost to get some services through RX outreach. Here's another question. Oh, go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say, and just for the record, we receive 7,500 to 8,000 calls a week here, and between 200 and 250 of those calls are people calling asking what's the catch. So they don't believe what we offer is actually real. So we are actually we've actually trained our call staff to address that conversation specifically and very slowly to make sure that we are real and we do exist, and we hope everybody believes in unicorns.
Absolutely, Pete, and that's again another way that NeedyMeds and RX Outreach are similar. We have our call center supervisor and our call center expert counselors, and they regularly are asked, what is the catch? Why are all the services that NeedyMeds provides free? So we sort of have our own script that we know that will alleviate those fears. There's a question coming in here about whether or not if a patient has Medicare and or Medicaid, they can still apply, quote unquote, for RX Outreach if they're underinsured.
Short answer is yes. Again, going back to that, how do you use it? If that patient spends any of their cash, any of their money, we're available to them. If they are looking for Medicaid claims, Medicare claims, insurance claims, we don't adjudicate any of those. But we have a lot of people that are currently in the donut hole that use us to provide themselves huge savings while they're in that donut hole.
Great, thank you, and as always, a thorough explanation. I'm getting some questions here for people asking about receiving the PowerPoint presentations as well as a copy of the presentation. If you are unable, again, to download the PowerPoint presentation that was attached to the registration, I will happily email that to you after the presentation, and know we are converting this webinar into a recording, and it'll be available on the NeedyMeds YouTube page. Now let's get back to a few other questions for you, Pete. And this is a great one. How often are new medications added to your formulary list if they are added?
We update every Friday.
Thank you so much.
We update pricing, we add drugs, we take away drugs. Because we buy, and because we price based on the volume we buy and the contract, our prices, if you're dealing with retail, if you're dealing with providers, prices will fluctuate daily or weekly. Our prices are locked in by contract. So every Friday we are refreshing something on our list, adding something to our list, so we update every week.
And Pete, do patients or clinics ever request that a specific medication be added to your formulary list?
Yes. Actually, approximately half of our 360, it might be 370 meds now, were requested at one time by clinics or groups of clinics. We serve a lot of free and charitable clinics across the country, and where they have state associations, if just as an example, if Tylenol is recognized as a need statewide and that demand can be replicated or sustained, we will pursue that drug to serve that need in that particular state or community.
That's fantastic. And Pete, we have a couple of questions coming in regarding, if you wouldn't mind just explaining again briefly how a provider joins your network. We have somebody writing in saying they understand that the patient is still responsible for the payment for the medication. So if you could address those concerns. I'm
sorry, can you say that last part again?
What does a provider have to do to join your network is the way the question was phrased.
Oh, okay.
And they just want to clarify that ultimately the patient would still be responsible for the payment of the medication.
Okay, so what I will do, actually it's on my screen right now to do, Carla, and I forgot to send you that information, but we have what's called a preferred clinic network, and we have 3 basic tiers of that. Tier 3 is the basic clinic. You don't need to register with us to send a patient to us. It's just as simple as that. So it's not about your registration. On tier 2s, there is some reporting that we will provide you, and that comes with an agreement. It's not an agreement or a commitment that is based in time. It only says that if on the tier 2 level, it says if in fact you are sending us a patient and we are sending meds, we will report on your patients, but there's the indemnification clause in that particular relationship. And then there is the tier 1. And the tier 1 is, again, there's no cost and there's no real significant registration other than the MOU we ask you to sign. But that does reporting, and it offers you the opportunity, if you're structured this way, not everybody is, it offers you the opportunity to sign up and you have monthly invoicing. So prescribe all month, we send you a monthly invoice, refill reports, patient reports, all of those kind of things. And none of that requires anything other than you calling up and saying, I want to be a preferred clinic, we'll send you the document. That's it. If you sign the document and you have no patients to send us, that's fine. If you send us patients every day, that's okay too.
Great. And you did mention, and just so everybody knows, as I said, we're going to convert this webinar into a video, and of course we'll ask Pete to come back again later in the year, but you did mention, Pete, that there are changes coming about in 60 days. Did you want to take a moment to explain what that was a reference to?
Yes, we are going to, right now, when we started in 2010, we came over as an extension of Express Scripts. And let's go back even further. In 2004, we were a four-person department in Express Scripts. In 2010, we became a standalone nonprofit. Many of our processes, as you can imagine, came over from Express Scripts. But given that we are much smaller than Express Scripts, and we serve a different level of patient than Express Scripts, we are transitioning now into more patient and provider friendly services. So currently when you come onto our site and you want to order medications, we ask you to enroll. And in many cases that requires that you have an email address. Well, two things happen with that. We serve a lot of people that don't have access to the internet or email, so they can't get on themselves. And then we serve the clinic basis, and at the clinic, many clinics don't have a clinic email. So it's, you know, Mary signed the clinic up, so we're using her email as the authentication, but Bob is there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Mary's there on Mondays and Wednesdays. So that causes problems, and it causes a lot of back and forth, and it rejects a lot of clinics who can't commit to Mary being there every day. So we're going to eliminate all of that authentication, so that you come online, you go to the site, you see what you need to see, you purchase what you need to see. We will enroll you, but enrollment only means that we put you on our list. It doesn't mean that you are committing to anything. So we're taking responsibility for enrollment out of the patient's hands because it's not really important, and we're taking it out of the clinic hands, which is not really important. You'll just be able to shop, find your medication, and buy it.
Thank you very much, as always, thorough. And we're going to wrap it up with one final question for you, Pete, because I think it's a question that comes up probably regularly, and it's a great segue to showcase the partnerships between RX Outreach and NeedyMeds. I've gotten several questions, and I'm going to group them into one, about people looking for certain and usually expensive medications that that unfortunately are not carried by RX Outreach, or they can't find it on your website. Right. And one person is looking for Eliquis. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And somebody else, Eliquis. Now it sounds familiar to me. There we go. And then another one was also looking for some help with inhalers. Yes. So there are a lot of people, and we're getting a number of these types of questions, and we get them here at NeedyMeds, and maybe if you can talk about what you would suggest they do if they can't find it, and then I can sort of segue into other resources we can help fill that gap with them here at NeedyMeds.
One of the, if we don't have it, Eliquis, I don't think we have, but I shouldn't be the expert. If that person can go online and look at our medications and just type it in, it'll tell you if we have it on hand or not. and the other one is inhalers, which we do have. But when we don't have something, typically, if you are a provider, we are helping you find something close to you. We do referrals to our number one referral source is NeedyMeds, because that is a place, and we have other people that provide medications that we've come across in the years that we will also refer that person to.
Great, that's very helpful. One of the things I'm going to point out is that much like RX Outreach, NeedyMeds, we unfortunately, although it kills us to admit, we can't fill everybody's needs. But we do offer a number of what we call safety nets, that if we can't fill the need and we refer you to RX VIP or vice versa, we do the best to get that medication or healthcare expense taken care of for you. One of the ways we do that here at NeedyMeds is with our drug discount card. Pete mentioned at the beginning that RX Outreach is not a discount card for pharmacies, but we at NeedyMeds do offer one. So if you do not have insurance or now you can always use the NeedyMeds drug discount card if you don't have insurance, but you could also choose to use it instead. And you may choose to do that because maybe your insurance doesn't cover your specific medication. Maybe you fell into a coverage gap for the year. Maybe you fell into something like the donut hole. Or it's always worth a shot to see if the NeedyMeds drug discount card, you can always comparison shop and see if the drug discount card will be cheaper than your copay or deductible. So that's one of the options, which is getting that prescription and trying to get a discount with the NeedyMeds drug discount card out of pocket. If you'll bear with me, I wasn't planning on doing this, but what I want to do really briefly is pull up the NeedyMeds homepage. The reason I want to do that is because under the patient savings tab that I just clicked on, all of those different categories are ways to save money. And to be honest, our last resort is the NeedyMeds drug discount card. Our first goal is to connect you with a prescription assistance program, a diagnosis-based assistance program, a coupon or rebate, or certainly, first and foremost, RX Outreach. If none of those options work for you, you can always turn to the NeedyMeds drug discount card. So with that, we didn't have the chance to get to a number of questions, so I will remind everyone that we will follow up with you personally via email by the latest tomorrow. For those of you that requested, we will certainly send you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation via email. And I just wanted to go ahead and leave everybody with a snapshot of the contact information if you're looking to reach out to RX Outreach. And Pete, take a quick look at that and let me know, did I get everybody's contact information right?
You got everybody right.
Fantastic. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Pete, we're going to thank you so much for taking the time to explain the invaluable resources that RX Outreach has to offer. As you know, we are thrilled and honored to be considered a partner, and we very much look forward to welcoming you back in the near future.
It's been fun. Thank you very much. Have a great day,
everybody, for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.